almost all famous football clubs has his own fashion designer. So when we thought about it, we just think, yeah, we want to do the same for esports.
So we're meeting our fashion designer.
He's very popular in Ukraine, and it will be the first step in esports when really professional designer makes uniforms for esport teams.
Yes, of course, I'm very excited that we will have our costumes. I really want to try them out.
To regain their and Gambit almost
217 damage in 0.11 seconds.
That was at the very end of the game.
Flash boom. Well, Alex and Gambit were able to hang on and pick up a pair of hard-fought wins in yesterday's quarterfinals. Today they face a Lemon Dog squad that picked up their game in the second half of the summer to take first place in the split.
The key to their turnaround has been their support, Mithy. Since joining the team, he's done a lot more than just support tabs. He's also the strategist for the team. He does a lot of the theory crafting for them. And then based on the info that he dishes out to Zoro0 and Nukdug, they make plays in game.
All right, and if there is one word to describe Mithy and the Lemon Dogs, it is consistent. They're really the only European squad that has been consistently able to win matches against every other team.
Yeah, they're also the only team in Europe in the European LCS with at least 500 record against every other team this summer. So far this split, they're 2-2 against Gambit. They picked up a win against the Russians last time they played, which was back in week 8.
And coming into the semi-final match, the Lemon Dogs actually expected to face Gambit, which has given them plenty of time to prepare. But the Russians are counting on their experience in front of crowds like this massive one we have here at Gamescom to be the factor that shifts the balance in their favor between these two very evenly matched teams.
Today we're playing Gambit,
which we already kind of expected.
and I've been boot camping for the last 2 or 3 weeks.
I think that Lemon Dogs did really good at LCS. I think that they are a really strong team, but I'm not sure how can they handle the crowd.
In our match against Gambit, we are gonna control the entire map to win the game. We gotta secure objectives and that we win.
The first thing that we need to do, that we do a lot, we need to stop feeding, because if you feed you won't win.
To beat Gambit today, we need to control the jungler, Diamond Fox. I think he's the best player at the current team lineup.
Diamond is a huge problem when you play against Gambit. He basically controls entire Gambit's playstyle. But if you somehow can shut down Diamond, or you can control him the entire game, then you most likely will win the match.
Of course, I should play very good against Lemon Dogs because they have a really good jungler, especially on counter ganks. So I should outplay him.
We'll try our best to beat Lemon Dogs. because we want not only to go into the Worlds, but we want the first place.
That is a great feature, and you hear both teams talking very respectfully of their opponents, but some big claims. Lemon saying, we'll just control the map, we'll just control Diamond, we'll just control Alex. That's not as easy as it sounds.
I love these pre-match interviews because so much of the jungler versus jungler matchup is psychological. It's very much like poker, and you want to play your opponent. So if you can mislead them in some of the early interviews or get them on tilt, then you can outplay them. Like Nukeduck, he usually gets a lot of support from his jungler. So if Diamond knows that there's going to be a lot of pressure mid, he can set up those counter ganks he was talking about.
Diamond was specifically even mentioning the counter gank, so we'll have to see if any of those mind games come into play. It is time to take a look at the lineups for this series. The blue side for this matchup is, of course, going to be the Lemon Dogs with Zoro0 in the top lane, Dexter1 as your jungler, Nukeduck as your mid, with Tabs and Mithy as your AD carry and support.
And it's fitting that on the red side is Gambit. Darian's up top, Diamond Prox is in the jungle, Alex is mid, Genja's on AD carry, and Boydell is supporting.
All right, it is time to break down our featured matchup for this semi-final series. And coming into this matchup, there's lots of interesting head-to-heads, but we do have to go with the marquee mid laners, Nukeduck for the Lemon Dogs and Alexich for Gambit.
Yeah, so I already mentioned Nukeduck, but he gets babysat by Dexter early on. And once he gets ahead, then he likes to roam and help out everyone else, spread around the love. Alex is awesome. He can pretty much do anything. He plays a lot of different strategies from the middle. One thing he's been trying to do lately, though, is deepen his champion pool. He's played 15 different champions so far this summer.
That is a massive number when you consider there's only 28, almost 28 before the tiebreaker games added on. Anyways, before we jump into Champion Select, let's check out the voting on lolesports.com and see who you guys actually think is going to be taking on Fnatic in tomorrow's championship match. According to LOL Esports, 66% of you think that Gambit is going to win this best-of-3 series. And I want to remind you that Lemon Dogs were like Velocity in NA, that they didn't win the public polls. But unlike Velocity, Lemon Dogs have been winning all season long.
So kind of like Vulcan, before Vulcan got that video feature. So maybe Lemon Dogs need a video feature to get everyone voting for them.
Well, maybe that little bromance video that was going on between the Lemon Dogs might spur on some support. But the one thing I do like, whenever you do talk to the Lemon Dogs players, they're very down to earth and they're like, look, we're not playing this for the fame, we're playing this to win games, and then everybody will come to us. And you'll see we are in Champion Select right now. Lemon Dogs on the blue side, immediately removing Evelyn. They talked about Diamond in that pre-match video, and that's the first ban directly targeted at it.
Yeah, Diamond's sort of been floating around a lot of different junglers lately. He hasn't really hit the single one that's been extremely effective. He's definitely one of the ones that's reaching further than a lot of other junglers, willing to take on new champions into the jungle, like that Karma that was semi-effective.
Yeah, it was an interesting comp, and I guess if you build the rest of your team comp around the mobility, it can definitely work. What we do see coming out of the Lemon Dogs is a Castellan and a Shen ban, so definitely Darian, Diamond Prox, and Alexich, who they feel are their strongest champions, removing them from the pool.
Yeah, and then on the other side, Gambit definitely feeling like Nukeduck is a huge threat here, taking out two of the main assassins so that he can't get rolling early from Dexter, and he can't go roaming to other lanes and get them snowballing.
So we'll have to see how well this works out. Nukeduck has played a large amount of Fizz during the course of the regular season. Tabs is the member that was actually sort of famous for it here in EU, but of course he is the AD carry. The first lock-in, a fairly safe one here from the Lemon Dogs. Locking in that Zac, you know, can do a lot of things, but they haven't snapped up any of the other favorites that we have been seeing, the likes of that Elise, Jarvan, and things like that.
Zac is just so strong right now. He's often going either as a ban or a first pick here. And for the Lemon Dogs, their top laner, Zoro0, he's pretty much only played AP top laners in the summer split. Actually, he has only played AP top laners in the summer split. Things like Kennen, Ryze, Malphite, Zac. He doesn't play the AD bruiser, so this could easily be a top lane Zac here. Whereas coming from the jungle, Dexter's more favored like the Jarvan and Lee Sin, so he can get the snowballing mid lane early.
It's an interesting one to see that Gambit have decided to lock in Sona and Misfortune as their duo lane, as opposed to taking away that Jarvan the fourth, because we have been seeing Diamond playing a fair amount of J4, and we know it's one of Dexter's go-to champs, so Gambit feeling confident to let that one through.
I mean, it seems like everybody's just infatuated with MF here in EU. It's just kind of come out of nowhere. She's had a rise again, and actually done really well in most of the games.
It's only recently though, because all split long, we've been seeing the more traditional summer split ADs, and of course, Genja, arguably Europe's most famous misfortune.
Yeah,
I think, he's really just in love with the press R. He likes to build all that bloodthirst and penetration early, and we'll see if they can make it work out. Over on the other side, Tabs, once again going back to one of his stalwarts, locked in that Caitlyn, which has played a lot during the summer split.
Yeah, so that's his most played AD carry, 8 picks for him. It's definitely the other very popular AD carry just because he's so strong in lane early. We've seen just huge swings in CS numbers, especially if she does get off a very good level 1 trade with you, then she does not give the lane back. It's hard for you to keep up with CS.
Well, we'll have to see who they pair with Tabs as far as the support is concerned. For the time being, it looks like it is going to be that Zyra. Over on the other side, we do see that Darian secures his Aatrox, and we will most likely be seeing Nasus in the jungle. They could swap it, but I do think it'll land in the
All right, so I talked about Diamond been floating around recently with some of these new junglers, testing the waters. He goes right back to his old, tried and true Nasus here. That's definitely going to be, well, 95% going to be a jungle Nasus. It could easily switch there with the Aatrox, but with how Darian played yesterday on Aatrox, I would be very sad to see it not go into his hands.
We'll definitely have to see if he can get himself off to that fantastic start. He was instrumental in the win against the Ninjas of Pajamas, and we're hoping to do the same here today. To round out the Lemondogs conversation, we do have some global pressure. Nukeduck's locked in that Twisted Fate. And, TF, since the changes to predominantly his pick a card more so than his passive, has really seen a sharp decline in competitive level play, but we're still seeing him in the hands of the players that really like him. Peck has played him, Alex has played him, and now Nukeduck as well a few times over the last couple of weeks.
And that's really because of the type of change that was made to him. You have to be an experienced TF player to continue to use him well. Because now you only have that 4 seconds. Once you choose your card, you need to use it. You can't just float around and have this gold card magically waving above your head forever.
So we'll talk about the compositions, how they work out in a second. We do see Alex, he is on Z. He's on a playmaking champion, and we talked about how, Alex can do everything. He can do those sort of utility mid laners, those assassin mid laners, and he's going back to
what he
one of his
loves
strongest.
most. Yeah, that's what he loves most, killing people. He hasn't had the best Z results, but it's a very good answer to TF. One of the things they tried to do was ban out assassins for Nukeduck, and they left up TF sort of on purpose here so that they can assassinate him. They want to stop him from roaming to the other lanes. TF is actually one of the best at doing that because of his ultimate.
Well, we'll have to see whether or not Alex can contain Nukeduck in the mid lane. It was the featured matchup that we were talking about, and either of these players can really start to push the game in their favor if they can get a little bit ahead in the early laning phase. And the players themselves feel it's all in the junglers. So
yeah.
Nukeduck, Diamond Prox and Dexter, a lot of weight on their shoulders.
Well, it's funny how both of these jungler and mid combos actually work. It's going to put even more pressure on their shoulders. Whichever jungler does visit that mid lane is going to have the upper hand if they go first. So a lot of the action probably going to be centered around that center area of the map.
Well, we'll definitely have to keep eyes on that one. We do have just a very quick remake, ladies and gentlemen, so we'll just be rushing through those picks and pans once again. We'll get this match underway. This is, of course, the second semi-final. The winner guarantees their spot at the World Playoffs, and they face Fnatic tomorrow in the finals here for the European Regionals, and the loser will be battling Evil Geniuses for that last shot at making it to LA.
That's almost going to be even a more highly contested game than the game for first there. Being the last spot to go to Worlds. We just heard from all of the players. That's what everybody's going for. That's what means the world to them.
Yeah, and I know that during the course of the last few days, as we're getting closer to wrapping up the playoffs, the video production crew here that are putting together all the bits and bobs and pieces and these fantastic features you guys have been watching, have been asking every single team, how would you feel if you didn't make it to Worlds? And the general consensus is it would suck a lot. I'm censoring some of the word, but nobody wants to stay home. Nobody wants to sit, especially if you're in the top 4, if you're in the semi-finals, and you're the only one of those 4 that doesn't make it.
Definitely something they don't want to experience. Yeah.
It is a heartbreaking thing. So we do see that the final lock-ins have taken place. There's just 25 seconds on the champion select screen before we get to that loading screen, so it will be underway very, very shortly. The previous match ended with a Fnatic victory 2-0. It was hard fought, but it was fairly in favor of Fnatic. They tended to, trend towards staying in control, and we'll have to see if Gambit can replicate that in this match.
Yeah, I was really a fan of the groundwork that Fnatic played before coming into that match with Evil Geniuses. They put so much work into preparation, and it really showed off here. So whichever these two teams did more prep, will probably have the upper hand. And I have to think that Lemon Dogs are going to come in with a lot of work done because of their support, Mithy, that we talked about. They've been 14-4 since he joined the team. That is ridiculous. That's
almost Cloud9.
Such a good score. Almost even Cloud9 numbers. And a lot of people think that it has to do with Mithy's research and preparation that they go into the games with.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the game is loading up. We'll be bringing them on your screens in just a few moments. But I just want to remind you that on the side of Gambit, we had a Aatrox and a Nasus locked in, but they're not where we were expecting them.
Glad I gave that 5% window there because they pulled the last minute switch, and it is going to be Diamond coming from the jungle with that Aatrox. So I think that actually has to do with the reaction to the TF pick middle. When there's a global threat like that, you want to pressure it at the source and go to that mid lane, gank him early and often, and Nasus does not provide that for this Gambit team. So they call an audible, they make the switch here. It's actually going to be Diamond with Aatrox trying to pull off a similar thing that like RNA did in the mid lane with that Aatrox. He went back over and over to the mid lane, ganking the TF and keeping him down, which eventually resulted in the alternate win.
Well, this is definitely a champion in the jungle that is trending upwards. We are seeing more and more Aatroxes in the jungle. This will be Diamond Prox's first one, I believe, in the LCS. So we'll have to see how effectively he can make this and if he can interrupt Nukeduck's Twisted Fate. We do see that the Lemon Dogs throw themselves out a little flag and reveal a Gambit grass party as they were waiting to see if any invade came down.
A grass party? Is that a South African thing?
Yeah, hiding in the long, tall bushes of the Highveld of South Africa. Right now, we do see a nice tri-wood bush. They're revealing Genji's position, and this will inform the Lemon Dogs that Gambit are considering a lane swap right now, toying with the idea of moving the AD carry up top.
All right, so yeah, just a little tussle over vision here. Nothing new for the early game, but looking towards Gambit's team, with that switch where they've rotated the Nasus actually into a lane Nasus, usually we'll see them max out that Siphoning Strike and take a bit longer to have an effect on the game. They often will freeze a lane, just trying to farm up those last hits until he gets really powerful with those Siphoning Strikes towards the end game, which is a bit different than what we're used to seeing from Gambit, where they actually like to take control of the jungle very early.
Well, we'll have to see how well it works out for them and how practiced they are. Remember that these teams have had roughly a week to get themselves ready for this matchup, and Gambit, of course, did have to play an extra set of games yesterday, so Lemon Dogs have got a little bit more scouting power on them. However, Gambit did not play this composition at all, so we'll have to see if Lemon Dogs' theory crafting is enough.
All right, so Lemon Dogs pulled the support and AD switch here. Gambit were expecting them bottom, and they had Darien wait around to screen for Diamond to get his blue buff, and they also had Diamond use his smite. Really, really careful play right there from Gambit. They were very worried, but Lemon Dogs, with that switch, caught them off guard. So they're slightly ahead right now as far as the mind games go.
Well, we'll have to see how well that affects, or how much that affects Diamond Prox. Of course, maybe not being as familiar or tested with this Aatrox in the jungle is a testament to the decision-making. Alex now in the mid lane, 6 CS, a little bit behind that of Nukeduck, but it is to be expected in these early levels. Alex is really just looking to get to 6 as quickly as possible, and then become a potential insta-burst threat onto Nukeduck.
Yeah, that's the way you deal with TF. You get a high burst assassin like that, and some sort of crowd control. Aatrox would be great landing one of those dark flights, but the other way is for Alex, we'll probably see him place one of these lane wards right in that mid lane, after TF does hit level 6 fairly early on, so that if he ever loses track of Nukeduck, they'll see which side he's leaking towards, and he can alert the lanes in time before the Destiny gank can actually go off.
Well, we'll see if Nukeduck can make those Destinies work. We tend to see that if the first 1 or 2 Destinies don't yield any results, it takes a long time for those Twisted Fates to impact the game. Dexter right now, though, talked about the impact he could have in this matchup. Diamond Prox even highlighted how good Dexter is at counter-ganking. He's managed to move himself to this top lane, got double buffs up, and neither Genja nor Voidal are overstepping their bounds. They're playing it very safely. However, Voidal does look like he's about to face check. Robin does go in, and that's an instant flash from Voidal to get away from the knockup.
So some early jungle time, not used quite optimally there. Dexter didn't make his normal rotation towards the mid, and now that Diamond saw him up top, he wants to cut him off and take advantage.
The Diamond Prox throws Dexter up. Dexter manages to pull himself to safety, not knocking up Diamond in the process, but a very risky prospect when you remember that Aatrox does have a second lease on life. You really don't want to be dueling him at that low HP.
And that's why Diamond went to intercept Dexter. This is the prime example of using what little information you have to go for the counter gank. It's not exactly a counter gank, but he knew he had the upper hand in the jungle, and he could at least get a really good trade-off, and at best, they could have mid laners collapse. Alex has already popped his red elixir. They're looking for blood.
Well, he's getting closer and closer to that level 6. We'll see. Hopefully catch that very first all-in because it explodes so quickly. Genja caught up by that root there by Midian tabs, trading a little bit of damage, and that early game range and range poke that both Zyra and Caitlyn offer is really keeping Genja down. He's about a wave and a half worth of CS behind.
And once they both hit level 6 too, if it's just a 2 versus 2 situation, glad that they have Zyra for the counter to a crescendo. As long as he can lay down the Stranglethorns, when he sees the cast time of that crescendo come out, the knockup should be enough to interrupt the MF bullet time, and they won't get bursted down in that double ult combo.
So reaction time is definitely the thing to keep tabs of once we see tabs being jumped on.
Oh my god.
In terms of the Lemon Dogs right now, itemization, there's a lot of ping towards Dexter once again. Caught up by Diamond Prox and forced to back away. And right now, Diamond definitely having the advantage in those head-to-heads, but there was a lot of pink wards in the inventory of Lemon Dogs as opposed to just the normal wards from Gambit at this early point of the game.
It's very important to Diamond to show the other jungler that he is the alpha dog first. And he's done it already with 2 trips into Dexter's jungle.
Right now, Nukeduck forced backwards. Alex throws out those shurikens. Has managed to keep him contained. 46 CS to 43. Nukeduck a little bit afraid of the mobility of Alex. He started with those boots and he's backing off for the first time. He'll pick up a couple of Doran rings and then move his way back into the lane. Both of the mid laners are now level 6, so the potential for a Destiny gank and or Deathmark fight is significantly higher because they're both available. And Diamond Prox continues with his counter juggling. He took the double golem away at the large one, and now he's onto the raid camp as well.
That ward that he plays very deep to by the Wraiths also serves to protect Alex, which allows him to go aggressive on that Zed, which is what he wants. He wants to be able to keep the pressure on the TF and not be on his back foot.
Well, let's see how Diamond continues to counter jungle. He's approaching his ultimate as well. And I recall when we were talking to Wicked about how much he played Aatrox and one of his biggest strengths. He said the tower pushing power that you have with that Bloodwell attack speed and your Massacre attack speed. Once you get to a tower, it's so easy to shred through it. And if Gambit stack up, it's definitely something that they can use to take control of the map.
Yeah, and as we saw from Wicked in that last game, if you push to the tower, it's also very easy for him to dive that tower. Wicked made an amazing showing of how to use that passive effectively, having no fear and just diving right in as soon as he was pushed up all the way to the turret. Even if you do trade and go down, your opponent will lose a large minion wave there too.
And if there's any team that's going to be happy to tower dive and pick fights on the enemy side of the map, Gambit is definitely one of those teams. Famous quote of see hero, kill hero. They've definitely got a composition that can accomplish that. We'll have to see. Once the combat starts, the longer the game goes, the more likely it is to happen.
I like this blue buff here on Alex, given him by Diamond, even though people always, junglers usually like to take the blue buff when they don't have a mana user as a mid laner. The energy regen really helps Zed. That cooldown reduction will enable him to spam out his spells. One of the most important things when dealing with a TF is shoving him back so that he has to deal with minions. Zed does a really good job of that if he has blue buff. He can shove waves here, and it kind of reverts the sort of nerfs, the changes that were made to Zed early, where they increase the cooldown on that Shadow Slash.
All right, we'll see how he manages to keep control. Ace in the hole goes out, manages to catch Genja. on the back foot. Tabs is just using that as really as poke, just trying to keep Genja down, trying to maintain that CS lead, trying to maintain control.
And we have some potential for action here in mid, as Dexter has been waiting very patiently for Alex to go aggressive and shove up here. He has used the shadow, which is something that you look for when you're going for a gank, but he actually is playing it a little bit safer now because that ward that Diamond placed in the Wraith bush went away. Very good adjustments by Alex.
And adjustments by Dexter as well. We see him now, he notices Diamond coming in. You do see that Nukeduck is moving towards him. Dexter level 6, he's actually going to run away from Diamond Prox. Not willing to pick a fight.
That's the power of Aatrox really early in the jungle. Here's the fight.
Crescendo locks up Mibby and Tabs. There's no ace in the hole to come down, and Genja manages to get away with his life. Voidal looking like he saved his AD carry.
That's exactly what I was talking about. Able to get down the Strangled Thorns as the Crescendo animation comes out, means that they have no chance on going further on this.
Diamond Prox gets locked up. Cold Card stuns him, Cataclysm out, but he manages to Dark Flight and flash to safety. But Summoner spells blown, Bloodwell not popped.
Flash for Wraith there, very, very chancy, but he re-warded there, and that is going to allow Alex that early aggression that he wanted to pull off, but had stopped because of his lack of vision.
Well, the time being used here by Genji, just to clear out the wave, trying to keep himself within touching distance as far as that CS is concerned. The lane that we really haven't seen too much is that Darien Zoro Zero lane. You know that Darien playing that Nasus, he was sacked. What a brief glimpse of it. He was roughly a plus 100 damage on that Cycling Strike, and it really is farming up right now. Nukeduck caught up by the death mark, and Alex throws the first one down, not managing to pick up a kill.
He does get pressure though. So this is one of the things when we say pressure so many different ways while casting, it's a little bit confusing for newer people. Just taking out the HP of Nukeduck means that he now has to worry about getting 100% and then killed. So that means that he's going to have to recall, and the minion waves are going to be shoved up by Alex into the turret, which draws Dexter out from the jungle, giving Gambit vision of the potential threat.
Well, one thing I do want to highlight about this matchup right now, Diamond Prox playing a slightly different jungler. He's had less of an impact on this early game at all. Very few ganks, really at all. He spent more time counter-jungling than he has in the lane. Dexter, on the other hand, as well, we haven't really seen many attempts for him to secure kills at all. And when we've seen him in the summer split, he really liked to get those pre-6 ganks and get those knockups down. And it just looks like he's giving Gambit the respect they deserve right now.
Well, Diamond has done an amazing job of running interference on Dexter, and it shows in his CS numbers too. Whenever he goes to both find Dexter so that Dexter won't be able to pull off a gank, he also takes a camp on his way. He's taken this Wraith camp several times already.
So, numbers right now still in favor of the Lemon Dogs as they secure the first tower of the game. Thanks to all the damage they got into Genja and Voidal, they were forced to recall and just allowed Tabs and Lily to chunk down. Alex caught by the gold card. Did you see a knockup from Dexter? Alex trying to turn around. Deathmark is not available. Forced backwards. Ignite secures it. First blood for Lemon Dogs as Alex goes down.
Dexter gets the last lap here. He's actually ahead in CS as well, so just kidding on that one. Oh, here goes the TFL tally.
Now we'll see if the Destiny can work out. They stun up Darren. He's trying to get away. Fury of the Sands is ticking. That's a percentage HP over time. He manages to get out with about 250 HP. And thanks to that lifesteal hit on the Siphoning Strike, he manages to stay up. Diamond is looking for Zoro Zero, but this is two champions that can come back to life. Dexter once again forced to retreat. Lemon Dogs not able to secure the second kill of the game, but a good attempt nonetheless.
That's why there was going to be so much action early. We thought the first blood was going to come from that lane, and it did. It was Dexter making the move first, and with TF still having his ulti up after that, he was then free to gank bottom.
He managed to at least scare Darien out of lane, but he's doing very well for himself. 100 CS right now. Zoro Zero 110. Basically a farm fest, as it were, as neither of these champions have made any significant moves towards killing one another. And of course, when you consider that Darien has Ghost and Teleport, the potential to actually get kills is significantly harder. So we do see right now that Gambit are moving themselves towards that Dragon Pit. They stood right on top of a pink ward, so a couple of side wards themselves. They'll start to take control. And this is something that Gambit are famed for in Europe, is that Dragon control. They have managed to jump onto, they started this one out in full sight of Lemon Dogs. Without the Destiny available, the chance of an instant reply is significantly less. And Gambit will be able to secure this one before Dexter can even get in range. Dragon advantage goes to Gambit.
Great job by them answering after the Destiny is down. One global objective that's going to slowly help them get back in this game. They're still behind here, and they have Zach pushing up top, while a Zyra Caitlyn down bottom will provide a lot of turret damage here and forced Darian to use his Spirit Fire and not get as many of those last hits with his Siphoning Strike.
We'll have to see how effectively he does. The Spirit Fire, picking up a couple of them. It's just falling a little bit behind that as Zoro, but with the amount of armor that he's got built up at the moment with that Glacial Shroud and Ninja Tab, he's not going to be too worried of the damage that Tabs is currently putting down. So we'll see how well he can control himself, see how well Tabs and Mithy can focus down that tower. It does look like Voidal, however, is coming to back Darian up, and he may stick around for a little while.
That should be plenty of wave clear here, because now he's got heal as well. We talk about jungle Nasus being able to clear waves super effectively. Lane Nasus does it even better because he levels up much quicker. And Darian is maxing that Siphoning Strike. It's around 150 already at this point in the game because he has rushed a Glacial Shroud, which gives cooldown reduction so he can use it even faster.
So we may have transitioned ourselves into Season 2 because a Wriggles Lantern has just been secured. It's been a very long time since I've seen a Wriggles at this level of play. And that's been picked up on that Aatrox. So a little bit of early lifesteal, and I guess I can see how the synergy works.
All right, Diamond showing some new trends here. We'll see how many people can jump on this bandwagon.
All right. If anybody's going to set new trends, Diamond's definitely one of them. He's got that red buff up. You can see in the mid lane. Alex gets knocked up. Let's bounce is available. And here comes Zoro Zero. He manages to get Alex and Diamond. Deathmark is going to be enough to close out Nukeduck. Now Zoro Zero trying to run away. Destiny was being channeled and not going to be enough to get away because Nukeduck was killed. Diamond procs and Alex combo together perfectly.
Right place, right time there for Diamond. The Destiny went off too late. It reveals position of everyone on Gambit, but Diamond was already headed right in, and that was the potential of the counter gank right there. Combo from Zed and Aatrox is way too much burst for any TF to deal with.
Effectively, they can continue to set that up. What we've seen from both of the junglers is just that focus in the mid lane. Diamond coming in to help out Alex in this gank. Previously was Dexter helping out Nukeduck in the mid lane to secure first blood. And it's a clear focus from these junglers.
Yeah, what do you know? Correct on that one. But the Zanya's Hourglass will be a nice turning point in that lane. Once Nukeduck's able to complete it, he actually has gone Blasting Wand after his arm guard though, so it'll take a while.
Maybe feeling a little bit of the pressure. That might help out with some of the wave clear. We'll have to see how that works out for him. He's not going to have that save me from Deathmark button that he's desperately looking for. Now Diamond Prox is moving himself towards this mid lane once again. Alex does have Deathmark available. There's a little bit of cooldown reduction from that Brutalizer. They may be looking to repeat their previous successes.
And look at this Darian build here. He is going with a pure Siphoning Strike stacking build here. After the Glacial Shroud to give him cooldown reduction, he's getting a Sheen, which empowers the auto attack, so he doesn't even have to wait for a creep to get low. He's just going to be using that thing on cooldown, and we will keep track of those stacks, keep you guys updated on how powerful he does start to hit late game.
So Genja once again going with his triple Doran's Blade into Bloodthirster build. This is something we see him do more and more often. Luckily he's transitioned away from the tier, but it's got this power spike. His opponent, however, has got an Infinity Edge. That's a massive difference.
Well, I really love this on MF specifically, because she is one of those sort of AD caster, AD carries, in that she puts a lot of emphasis on her ultimate, which benefits from flat attack damage scaling. And then having 3 Doran's Blades, the other half of that is the extra HP pool that she'll have. So if Nukeduck does ever get to the back and start on her, she'll have a lot more meat on her to be able to survive that.
Well, we'll have to see whether or not Nukeduck can actually get through all of that additional meat and pick up the kill, because right now, that first Destiny was used to actually try to jump on Darian. It did not work out. Since that time, Teleport has become available for Darian. Destiny is still available for Nukeduck, and both of these teams have basically had a 20-minute laning phase. They've taken their time, they've farmed themselves up. There's a Wriggles Lantern in the game.
And it's actually going to be fairly cost-effective because Diamond is using that ward on cooldown. So he's effectively got a mini Sightstone there, and it's not quite as gold efficient, but he's making great use of it. He wants to keep up his same game plan that he's had all game long and keep his whole team aware of Dexter's movements by warding very aggressively in the jungle.
The one thing that we always see about these games that have extended laning phases is once the fights happen, they really tend to happen quickly, very swingy, I guess, because both teams have got so many items. The fights are a lot more able to just go in one way or the other, and it just depends on if we can get that first form of crowd control down. Yeah. There's a fair amount of crowd control across the board.
And with the pace of this game, you know, Darian's actually extremely happy right now. He's already up to 200 extra damage on that Nasus siphoning strike. They're slowly getting power, not in items. It's actually just the scaling of the champion abilities here is a little bit more in favor of Gambit.
So Darian may have taken that insta-burst one-shot that Alex landed onto previously personally, and he may try to match it or exceed the damage with this siphoning strike. We'll have to keep an eye on Tabs' HP.
Yeah, Darian though, unlike some jungle Nasus from North America, has not taken flash on his Nasus. So we won't have that very spectacular flash siphoning strike there. No shout outs to Meteos.
Well, we'll have to see how it makes use of it. Dragon has respawned. This time around, Gambit have started out. They have vision control in the pit thanks to the pink ward, but you can see the Lemon Dogs are around and Destiny is available as well. So Gambit wisely decide to back away and apply some focus on this mid lane.
Gonna back away from the Dragon here. They do still have teleport up, so they can send Darian off to go continue to rack up more siphoning strike stacks, but the reason they brought him into lane to show was so they could buy Diamond this time to counter jungle. He preemptively set those wards earlier using that wriggles that we talked about, and we talked about also counter jungling being such a team-based activity. Even Darian's in on it here. He takes his precious time away from stacking that Q to come help.
They do manage to at least steal that blue buff, so it's been denied from Nuke Duck. I do want to just mention that Diamond Prox is skilling up that Blades of Torment, the E on his jungle Aatrox, followed by Bloodthirst per price, the W. Just for interest's sake, I actually did not keep tabs of what Cyanide was skilling up on his jungle Aatrox, so just for those that are watching.
Nuke Duck is in the top lane split pushing here. Usually TF will be able to join the fight instantly, but it's only about a half of a map teleport at this point. He can't get all the way there, so there's no way Lemon Dogs can actually contest that one. There's gonna keep him split pushing up in that top lane, and a second Dragon for Gambit.
Yeah, once again, Gambit demonstrating why they have so much control over that Dragon. They really they jump at any opportunity whenever they feel they can take it, and that was one of the safest Dragons they could take, based on the fact that Nuke Duck was always going to be a mile and a half away. We do see that Alex continues to farm up that Wraith Camp. 222 CS, the most farmed champion in the game right now. Blade of the Rune King completed, as well as that Brutalizer. You can see that Zoro Zero's returned to lane to try and farm up here. It's the wave that Darren has pushed in. Now, with 2 towers down, Gambit only have that mid tower up. Where do they look to actually move as a team?
They're not looking to move. They're happy with how this game is going. They want to get the extra scaling here from Darian. The thing is, since Darian has Ghost instead of Flash, Lemon Dogs actually have a nice end game strategy here where they could just Cataclysm Darian and then leave him in there. You can, as long as you don't use your Flag and Drag, the EQ from Jarvan, to initiate, you can just Cataclysm and then jump out of it, leave Darian all by himself in that kennel.
You see that Zoro Zero stood on the side, he's thinking about jumping in. Ward does get put down for Voidal, so they're aware of it. 4 members of Lemon Dogs in this mid lane start bashing away the mid tower. Get a couple hits down before backing out cleanly. The Gambit have grouped up to defend if Lemon Dogs maintain targets on this tower.
I do like the pace of this game, though. This is exactly what Gambit were looking for. We talked about the preparation coming into this. It seemed like this was sort of a reactionary play by Gambit, but they might have had this planned all along and baited Lemon Dogs into the first pick there, because a lot of people would assume that Diamond's the one to use that Nasus. They made a really good move there, switching. Yeah, I did. Maybe I'm just projecting.
Well, we'll have to see how it works out for them. As the time being, Dexter does throw himself in, doesn't manage to get any knockups. Diamond Prox sidesteps away, gets a double knockup, turns the pressure onto Mithy as the bullet time comes across. Mithy drops to 300 HP, but he gets out cleanly. 4 members of Gambit now want to take a fight. Now Zoro Zero is going to be able to get popped by Alexic. She's managed to flash away. Ignite pops his passive. Cell Division's up. Alexic is going to look to pick up a kill with some of that splash damage that he does have. One single Shadow Slash secures it. First tower of the game in favor of Gambit. They secured in the mid lane, and they haven't stopped. They want to now jump on that mid in a turret.
Oh, that's why Zed is feared so much as a split pusher. The dueling powers way too much, and he also gets to even cheat at that whack-a-mole game. The Shadow Slash at the end can hit all 4 bloblets.
So we do see that even against that Sunfire Cape, there's what's going to be enough. Now Cataclysm locks down Gambit in the mid lane, and Dexter instantly flashes out of it, realizes he's bit off more than he can chew. Gambit have at least been dissuaded from that mid lane attack as Alex is hammering away on this bottom lane outer tower.
So Dexter showing right there what they're looking to do late game to contain the melee threats here. This trap Darien inside that Cataclysm and get out. The only reason is they only had 4 people, so they didn't actually want to fight that team fight. I guess he was just showing them his hand a little early though.
Well, at the very least, Diamond Prox and Alex will be able to hop out of that Cataclysm if they do get trapped in. They're not so dependent on that flash. We'll have to see how they maintain control over those cooldowns. All of a sudden, with those 2 towers back-to-back and a couple of kills, Gambit are able to take the gold lead as we hit the 25-minute mark. And the one thing I really want to highlight just about all that stands up for me is that Alex was able to kill Zoro Zero with all of that armor already. And the last was from Brutalize is so strong.
It's one of the things that's very surprising about Zed. Oh, he's going for another kill here. Zoro Zero knows what happened last time, doesn't want a piece.
Deathmark is out, Let's Bounce comes down from Zoro Zero. He's trying to interrupt Alex as best as he can. Luckily, thanks to knocking him in the air, there's not enough spells, and the Destiny comes down, manages to secure a kill for Lemon Dogs. Zoro Zero doing perfectly to avoid that.
Gambit don't usually forget about cooldowns like that, and with Twisted Fate's Destiny available, Alex knew he had no backup, and just a little bit of an outplay right there by Lemon Dogs.
They keep the kill score even at 2-2. There's only 500 gold that separates these 2 teams, and that's probably in Twisted Fate's passive back pocket right now. It couldn't get closer.
Yeah, so I was gonna say that one of the surprising things about Zed is how he can burst tanks so well, and it's because Zed builds that armor penetration anyway, and so he ends up being able to do almost as much damage to the tanks as he can to squishies, with the Deathmark applying basically double damage. As soon as he has that penetration and the active Blade of the Ruin King, everybody on the map has to be scared. It's one of the first things that tripped me up, even as like a tank Udyr player. Endgame, Zed will still not hesitate to all-in you and just blow you up.
Well, as long as Destiny and Let's Bounce are available, it's going to be a little bit more difficult.
Yes.
I think Alex is going to be well aware of that. Better to have the mistake happen now in this mid-game laning phase than the late-game team fighting phase, because at 27 minutes, we are still basically sticking to these lanes as Darien continues to stack up that siphoning strike. It is just getting extremely strong. He's got himself that Spur of Visage, so with his built-in lifesteal, going to be doing very well as now Lemon Dogs, they're trying to push middle, Mithers getting popped, Deathmark takes him out. Now Voidal does get stunned by the gold call. They've traded support for support, but Stranglethorns, no crescendo was used.
I have to say that's a mistake by Voidal though. You don't follow Alex in. You are a very squishy support. Sona, Alex is on a mission to get in and get out. He is like an assassin there. He just wants to execute his mission and then leave. Voidal got caught unawares there. There shouldn't have been an answer, but there was.
So unfortunately for Gambit, they give up the kill while taking one. That's at least gonna make this next fight a little bit more challenging. Now, neither team has supports as the Dragon has spawned. For the first time, Lemon Dogs have started this one off, and there is vision for Gambit.
So we still have bullet time, but there's no crescendo because Voidal did go down, and he's not gonna be able to help them.
We do see that the Dragon is still bashing away onto Dexter. He's losing some
Smite
HP.
bite!
Lemon Dogs are a little bit split up. Smite does go in favor of Dexter. Dragon secured for Lemon Dogs. The flag and drag to safety. He pulls himself out. Nobody from Gambit continues to chase, and Dragon number 1 for the Lemon Dogs.
Ooh, that's a nice trophy there for Dexter. Outsmites Diamond. There's nothing to say there. He's level 13. Diamond's level 14. That was just pure timing.
Well played there by Dexter. Of course, Lemon Dogs did start that Dragon off. A little bit more on tune.
All right, so Darien has pretty much left Summoner's Rift and went to play Farmville here. He's up at 330 on his Siphoning Strike now. Just playing his own game down there.
330 bonus damage, and that continues to grow with every single time you hear that sound effect. And it's just going to become a terrifying beast. Now, he's only really built survivability items. You know, that Iceborne Gauntlet is kind of a mixture of two. Do you think we'll see him pull damage?
So, the thing is, after that Iceborne Gauntlet, he's built the Spirit Vision for more cooldown reduction to have max cooldown reduction and literally spam that Siphoning Strike every time it's off cooldown.
Oh, he slammed one into Dexter. Fable again manages to get two off. That's dropped a decent chunk out of Dexter's HP, but he has a Master Warden's Mail and a Giant's Belt, so we'll see how hard that hits if he can get onto tab. All of Gambit have grouped up. They're now Siphoning Striking down the tower. Tower number 3 is going to fall in the background as the Stranglefall throws up members of the Russian team. Alexic jumps forward with that Deathmark, puts a couple of slashes down, does get taken out in the process. Gold card locks up Genji as the bullet time not really doing the damage they wanted. Destiny's available. That's 2 kills for Zoro Zero as now the gate does land. Crescendo locks up Nuke. Boydle gets a power core down, flashes away from the knockup of Dexter. There's no more CC to follow up from the Lemon Dogs, and Gambit managed to get away with 3.
Poor initiation there from Alex. He should have let Lemon Dogs leave. They were already backing up, and Gambit was low enough after already busting Darian's ultimate just to tank that turret and finish it off. The rest of the team was not on the same page. They were not thinking for a re-engage there, and Zed, extremely squishy right now. He has no GA to get back up either. All in, and he dies.
Not over yet. Zoro Zero throws up Diamond into the air. That's going to be enough presence to dissuade Diamond from sticking around, and the third tower of the game falls in favor of Lemon Dogs. They now have all 3 outer towers down and a little bit more free reign on Gambit's buff, because we've seen Gambit with significantly more invades than we have seen from Lemon Dogs. This may be the door opening for Lemon Dogs to try and take control back of the map. They have a 2 kill advantage, they have a 2,000 gold advantage, and we're just seeing play and counter play as both teams are showing they have the ability to pick up kills and win fights and objectives when forced to.
Yeah, it seems like Alex really isn't on the same page here. He's used to a high-paced game and more action. He's getting a little bit ahead of himself, and maybe this is the reason why his, Zed record isn't as stellar as it could be. Everybody else is playing a slow game here from Gambit, and they're happy to wait around, whereas Alex always wants kills.
So, in terms of itemization, Static Shiv and Infinity Edge completed for tabs, looking for some additional wave clear and on-hit burst, a lot of armor and defensive items. Nothing too surprising here, with the exception maybe that Warden's Mail. And we'll touch on the Stinger in a second, as right now Lemon Dogs, they're grouped up. As we talked about, towers are down, and now they're invading to challenge for buffs.
Very dangerous counter here for Gambit. They're walking through this small jungle pathway to try and contest Lemon Dogs. They've already secured the red buff because of the caution that Gambit have to take around that small corridor.
So what I was trying to get at before that little posturing took place, that's a Stinger in Darren's back pocket. I assume that's going to become a Zephyr. Is that where he's getting his tenacity from?
Yep, because he's already got Ninja Tabby, because he's against Caitlyn. Most of Caitlyn's damage does, in the end game, come from auto attacks, so those are the most effective routes against her. And then if he's able to get that Zephyr, not only does he get tenacity, but he also gets more attack speed. Nasus has passive life steal, so with the Spirit Visage, he's actually sustain tanking. The more attack speed he has, the more auto attacks, and the better that life steal is going to be.
Well, we'll see how efficiently it works out in these team fights, because we've actually seen more sort of skirmishes with one team getting an advantage before the other.
Speaking of those auto attacks there from Darren, he just passed 400 here. 400 extra damage after 32 minutes.
This is going to be very scary, and that damage on towers is going to be even more impactful. If Darren can get to them, he is melee of course, so on the condition he's not locked into a Cataclysm, you've got to imagine that Lemon Dog's towers are not going to be standing for particularly long.
That's the thing though, that's why I called it out very early. Lemon Dogs had this Jarvan very early on, and that's always going to be an option for them in the late game. Gambit, or Darian specifically, didn't seem to be concerned about that, and he hasn't gotten much benefit from the Ghost. I think that he may reconsider after watching this game.
Well, we'll definitely have to see what the decision is, because right now Gambit, we're moving towards Baron. Destiny reveals their positioning as Nuke reads them like a book. He manages to go to the Wraith camp, saves himself 3 seconds worth of walking time, secures himself that Wraith, and again, it's just the game is balancing on a knife edge, and neither team is looking to lose that balance and fall too far down.
No, and you know, Nuked up there kind of just slapping Gambit away from the Baron pit, sees what they're up to, and they immediately pull back because they know they don't actually have the upper hand in team fights yet, and they need to accumulate a bit more time for Darien.
Well, this is the closest these two teams have been for a little while. Zoro Zero definitely thinking about getting involved. Saunters over towards Darien. Darien's glowing fist force him away. Now the slingshot is being charged. Zoro Zero cancels it, gets a little bit of that cooldown back. Definitely both of these teams are moving towards the Baron. It's something that we talked about as far as European teams are concerned.
Now, if they do end up actually going with a hard engage here, Voidal actually out of position again, very dangerous, but you have to keep your eyes on Alex this time. He's not going to be going after Nukeduck at the very beginning unless Nukeduck's already out of position, because he has finished that Zanya's Hourglass. Probably going to be trying to get to Tab.
So Diamond Prox does get knocked up. He gets knocked up in his flight. Does manage to flash to safety as Darien throws down the Spirit Fire. That is the flash out of Diamond Prox, though. Very good timing on that knockup from the Lemon Dog.
Second time this weekend that we've seen a Zac bounce interrupting Dark Flight. There was a pretty recent change that was made to the ability, and we're just seeing why right there. Balancing him a little bit more. They lose the flash, but more importantly, they lose the objective after. Dragon is now gone. A little bit more gold lead here for Lemon Dogs.
Yeah, 35 minutes on the clock, 1,800 gold between these two teams. It is very, very close. Now, all of a sudden, Lemon Dogs with a numbers advantage and a vision advantage, they clear out this Baron pit, and all of a sudden, Gambit is now the team that has to respond. Gambit is the team that needs to move in there and check out what's happening. Zoro throws himself down. There's no flash for Diamond Prox. He does get stand up. Gold card is there. Now Destiny's being used. We do see Zoro bouncing all up in Gambit's face. Crescendo has not been used just yet. It finally locks up in Nukeduck and Zoro in the background. The first victim to fall is Genja, followed quickly by Diamond Prox after coming back from that blood well. Ace in the hole, not going to be enough to close off Alex, and his death mark not really having an impact in this match right now. Voidal does get taken down. A flag to the head. That's going to secure 3 kills, and Lemon Dogs will say thank you very much for Baron.
And now they're pretty much only going to have to deal with Alex. They probably won't go for it, so let's look at the replay here. Diamond is the one they do not want to be on the front lines. Much rather have Darien be the one starting this out. And now it's a 5 vs 4. Darien does get locked inside the Cataclysm, but the rest of Lemon Dogs just run right past him, and they chase off all the damage for Gambit. There's not much of a chance for them to answer. That is a ridiculous amount of damage, and Nukeduck thinks that he's done because of how powerful his wild cards and Mega cards were, but the small heal there from Voidal makes him burn his flash.
So, nevertheless, a team fight victory for the Lemon Dogs. A Baron secured for the Lemon Dogs, and the first real sign of a lead that we've seen in the entirety of this match, but it is still very small.
And we've seen how Diamond is a very untanky Aatrox. He's kind of all over the place with his build here. He has not gone with the Hydra that we've seen Darien favor, and he has not gone extremely tanky after that. No Aegis or anything. He's just got bits and pieces of varying defensive items here, kind of going in all directions at once and not really getting to any final destination.
Let's see where it ends up. Ignite is down on Zoro. Deadmark was used, does get popped. They're not going to be enough to take him out this time. Zoro is even more tanky than the previous time they fought. Randian's only completed along with another Giant's Belt in there. So we do see that Alex trying to split push a little bit, but not really focusing on that.
It's too dangerous for him. We've already seen Nukeduck check him once, last time he got out of line, and he can easily do that again. Now they have got Baron buff, so it makes it even that much more dangerous. A Gambit team will not be able to capitalize on the commitment of multiple resources that go after Alex.
As it stands right now, 5 of the Lemon Dogs kills have been clustered onto Zoro. That's a very beefy, disruptive tank that's up there in the front line, and Gambit really haven't had a way to deal with them. The one fight that we really have seen, Zoro disrupted them so immensely, and now he's the one split pushing.
Now, one of the counters, or the combo breakers, that I was looking for in that last EG game is if you're up against a good combo like a Sona Crescendo plus Volatile, then one way to do it without spreading out the team is just to focus on one super heavy tank, just go full tank and have that person rush the combo so that the area of effect spells are being blown on your single super tank. And that way, the rest of your team doesn't have to worry about it. And they can effectively, that could be your combo breaker right from the start.
Let's see whether or not Zoro can continue to maintain control of that crescendo bullet time. As Lemondogs stick to that 5,000 gold lead. Darian continues to farm up his siphoning strike. Zephyr was completed, still sitting on that crystalline flask, as well as his spurred visage. The top outer tower is still standing here for the Lemondogs. Gambit has secured 2 mid towers, 1 bottom outer tower. But neither team is brave enough. I'm going to call it, neither team is brave enough right now, or thinks it is intelligent enough to be pushing these lanes as a 5-man.
Yeah, so Lemondogs are ahead, but they're really looking to snag someone out from Gambit. They're fine with sitting on this because, like I said, they've got Zoro, who's a super tank, and has multiple interruption spells that he can use to break that combo of the Sona.
Knockups are all in place. Crescendo comes out, locks in place Dexter and Zoro. Now Diamond Fox, his blood well has been popped. It is going to regenerate a lot of HP, and good timing from Zoro. Knocks him back up into the air.
Well, there's Lemondogs catching him out of position. They didn't even have to use Destiny.
Well, the gate comes down. Gold card is primed. Doesn't manage to lock on anybody as the wild cards, they're out just a single minion. Inner mid turret is down, and with a 49-second death timer, this could be an inhibitor going down. We do see Zoro charges up the slingshot, decides not to fire it. Remember, Genja does have a Guardian Angel, so he needs to get taken down twice in a fight if they do want to secure the kill. Lemondogs, however, waiting for that minion line, waiting for the conga before they get on the tower.
The thing is, Genja doesn't have attack speed, so all you really have to do is interrupt his ultimate.
We'll see whether or not the multitude of knockups and stuns can in fact do that. Right now, tower has been dropped 20 seconds before Diamond Frost is up. Burn fire being thrown down there by Darian, helping out clear the way, but there's no tower to fight on. If you see Darian gets caught up by the trap, the inhibitor does drop. The Lemondogs get out cleanly. 35 seconds to take a tower on the inhibitor. They'll be happy with that.
They're fine with playing this slow, as you can see, because they're so calm and collected. They know that they already have answers for the threats on Gambit. Whether it be Darian's stacking up over 500 damage on his siphoning strike, they can just cataclysm him, leave him there. Or the dual lane combo of the crescendo bullet time. They've got Zach here, who's going to be bouncing all over them and interrupting. So pretty much the only thing left is Alex. And as long as he doesn't get 2 tabs, they're going to be fine.
Well, we'll have to see whether or not Gambit can actually make this
Oh my
work.
God.
Right
they
now,
even have Quicksilver Sash now. They literally have answers for everything Gambit can throw at them.
I'm at a loss for words right now because I don't think I've ever seen a Gambit quite this passive before, ever. And I also don't think I've seen a team really counterpick and counter-itemize their opponents so efficiently and so effectively. You know, the Lemondogs, they haven't made really any mistakes. All of the kills and the objectives that have been secured have been thanks to good plays by that respective team.
I really want an extended listen-in on the Lemondogs communication, because we talked about Mithy's impact with all the research and the planning and the in-game information that he feeds to his team. I feel like this could have all been orchestrated by him, and that's why Lemondogs are so calm. You can see them on the cams whenever we switch. They're never panicked. They're always just calmly talking and communicating, and that's why their plays in-game reflect that. They never rush in.
To be very fair, they have only been 12 kills in 43 minutes, so
yeah.
A lot of the bombing in lane's not quite as stressful as the team fights, but you know, Lemondogs, they're playing this one by the numbers. We've seen how impactful late game Caitlin's can be, especially when sieging up towers and trying to focus down those objectives from range. Zoro thinks about jumping in, primes the slingshot, doesn't lock it down. Dexter does manage to get that Demacian Bandit and Dragon Strike combo, not going to land now.
Oh god.
See Ace in the hole comes out, Diamond Fox is going to go down. Let's bounce is there, but it's a pult of a Peacemaker that uses it. Alex decides to use a Deathmark on Zoro. It does pop, not going to be able to secure a kill yet, as the Stranglethorn throws up 3 members of Gambit. Now we see that's 2 kills on the board for Tabs as he 90 calibers forward. Massive critical hit, secures him the triple kill, and we see Alex tries to go back in. The 4th kill of the fight does land in Nukeduck's back pocket, as we do see Genja has made it out cleanly. A 4-for-1 trade, and Lemondogs may be on for the win.
Because Zoro went in on Diamond and didn't use his interrupts for Genja, they were able to at least get off a good bullet time there. Everyone paid for it with their lives though, so it's only Genja by himself trying to save this one.
First Nexus turret does drop, and in a 44-minute farm fest here, Lemon Dogs are going to secure the first victory of the semi-final. A strong victory, one that was really thought about more than played for.
That was how people talk about winning in picks. Not only did they win in picks, but they also won in-game with their itemization. It was much more of a chess game than an MMA fight or something. There was very little problem here, and a lot of just choices by Lemon Dog that were well informed.
The question is then, if Lemon Dog's decisions were well informed, would you consider Gambit's decisions less informed? Because the Nasus pick, in theory, could have been good. That cycling strike was immensely powerful. He had so much farm, he had so many items, but it didn't have any impact in the game. It reminds me of the top lane Nasus we've seen during the international wildcard. It just fizzled towards the late game.
So maybe it isn't that powerful late game then. I mean, he did have teleport, didn't really get to make any teleport plays. He had Ghost, didn't really make any Ghost plays. And all of that time that he spent farming was pretty much wasted.
So the question is now, Gambit get beaten by Lemon Dogs, get out-thought by Lemon Dogs. I think that's the best way to describe this victory. It was a mental victory, a war of minds that Lemon Dogs just came out ahead of.
And as a coach, like, that's the best way that your team can win. They'd be very happy with that because that's one of the few times where we see League of Legends games be consistent. That's how Lemon Dogs are the only European team that's been consistent. They're now 15-4 record with Mithy on them. It's repeatable because most of it is done on paper rather than in the game.
This is one thing that I think the Lemon Dogs have actually done in this match, maybe even more than I've seen throughout the summer split, is that they picked up a victory not only through the picks, but through itemization that was incredibly intelligent as well. And it's something that Gambit gave them the time to do. Gambit had so many strong options, and we just didn't see them make a play. They went for Dragon, and that was really all that they made work for them.
Yeah, I mean, they got a super tank to interrupt the combo. They got 2 answers for the squishies, the Zanya's Hourglass and the Quicksilver Sash. After that, you know, they've also got the Cataclysm to just lock up the dog. There was nothing else.
Nothing else they
Let's
can
send
do.
it over.
Well, let's see what D-Man and Jad have to say over at the analysis desk, because I'd love to hear them break down that match.
Thank you very much, Quickshot and Kobe, for that great little breakdown towards the end, because you know, he said himself that Alex was playing an assassin, but it wasn't really working out for him because he just got completely locked down by everyone on Lemon Dogs.
Yeah, and as they were saying, that was a very passive game from Gambit, and I have to credit really Nuke Duck in just taking the aggression out of them, because I think at the moment, when Alex went in for his second kill on 0-0 on the split push, and then Nuke Duck came in and killed him.
Yeah.
After that, Alex didn't really go for anything on his own. Everything that Gambit was trying to do with the stall, even though they were stalling, they never really had the ability to make big plays because Nuke Duck was going to shut it down.
And incidentally, that was the only kill that 0-0 actually had on him, was that single solo play. After that, he just became this unstoppable force, which you get with Zac, which is why we've seen Zac back out so much. And honestly, for me, 0-0 was just creating everything for Lemon Dogs in that game.
It was really crazy how well Lemon Dogs played together. I mean, we're trying to kind of figure out coming into Europe here how Lemon Dogs is the #1 seed, because still, even when you talk to a lot of the European teams, they're saying, "Oh, they're #1, but we're all the same. We're all even."
Yeah.
It's like, well, they were substantially ahead of the pack, and they play on a very solid plane with their consistency.
Yeah, and the thing is, when our picks and bans came around, I said to you, I was like, both of these teams have actually got picks that they want.
Yeah.
So they've managed to get comfortable picks in this one. And it turned out, you know, Nuke Duck once again proving that Twisted Fate for him can work. He ordinarily would be the split pusher. This time he just didn't need to because Gambit kind of played into their hands.
Exactly, they didn't need to stall. And actually, let's, we have a replay actually, if we could go into the replay, that shows really the turning point in the game. Because both teams, as we were talking about, were playing the stall game. And it was previous where they actually caught Diamond looking once, burned his flash. Here they actually end up catching Diamond again, and it shows how even though it's a patient game, Lemon Dogs has the ability to be extremely decisive and just turn things on its head. So let's roll this clip actually right now. They interrupt his dark flight once again and finish him off. And at this time, they just kind of press a button and decide, okay, we're going all in. If we actually pause it here, 0-0 on the right side of the screen has flashed all the way in to this fight. Genja is going to be dead, pretty much, because Nuke Duck with his Lichbane and Rabadon's Death Cap can stop him whenever he wants in any of these fights. And Lemon Dogs had this all planned out because, hell, they had 35 minutes to think about how they're going to be able to get a fight. Over on the left, Dexter's locking down Darien as well, and everyone is just kind of doing their job. They all had pretty much assigned roles for what they wanted to do in team fights, and they just jumped on Gambit here. Let's just roll the rest of this at full speed, where you can see Genja get blown up, Alex kind of gets caught in the chaos and has to run away. This was very nearly 4 kills for Lemon Dogs, because look how much damage Nuke Duck can do with his combo. For a second, it also seemed like he wouldn't be able to get Voidal, but Lemon Dogs has each other's backs. They talked previously about how they all get along, because they're in perfect sync right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, you talked about it. It's like the European teams, they're all like, no, we're just as good. Because, well, let's face it, 4 of them tied for second place, so they all feel they're up there.
Yeah.
Lemon Dogs, as Kobe just mentioned, they're carried a massive run of wins since Mythi's come into the team.
Yeah, and looking at them now, especially in this game, because Gambit, even though they weren't old-style Gambit, looked pretty good yesterday. And it was in 2 stalled-out style of games that they eventually overtook NIP, because Gambit, seemingly, if they can kind of get to late game, they have good enough team fighting skills and enough experience with each other that they can just pull out those late game wins and have some good decision making. But Lemon Dogs just kind of turned it on. Despite Darien having plus 570 on his siphoning strike by the end of that, it wasn't a factor because Lemon Dogs had more coordination and they could shut him down.
So what do you think of Bounds coming into the next game? I mean, we've seen Bounds turn games around. Of course, it happened for Alternate effectively against Evil Geniuses in the semi-finals. It completely shut them down, really. You know, EG just went, okay, you've obviously been practicing these champions, take them away from them.
That's one thing I see with Lemon Dogs as well,
yeah.
Is unlike a lot of these other teams, they don't necessarily have to tunnel on certain champions. I think maybe Jarvan for Dexter, just because that type of coordination, initiation really helps them as a team. But other than that, like Nuke Duck plays too many things. I mean, just based on European games, Aatrox has been a big factor this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's something Dexter or anyone on Lemon Dogs requires. I think it's more about Gambit having to adapt their picks to what Lemon Dogs does more reactively.
I mean, I'm interested to see what Gambit do because they've got Misfortune. They're happy with that. Sona, that's like the lock-in for them.
They got most of their stuff.
They got Aatrox. It was on Diamond and not Darien. I would expect Darien to have took it. That kind of surprised us at the start of the game, and I think everybody else. And Zed for Alex, so really they've got their ideal team. They just need to play better.
Yeah, and to talk about the Darien playing Nasus thing, it worked in a sense of when we saw Soaz pull out the Nasus. It's the against another tank laner, for instance, like it was against a Malphite. This was against a Zac, and the whole idea is you just have enough sustain that he can't push you out of farming your Q, and you get in that mode of farming your Q. But Darien kind of got in a mode that I tend to get on when I'm getting Nasus, where the whole game to you becomes about the Q, and you forget about the actual game. Sure, he had 570, which means he killed nearly 200 minions with his Q, but he didn't even have an assist. He didn't play the game, as it were. He just played the minion game, exactly.
Just farming Nasus. Well, sometimes you can farm your way to victory, not this time though. So ladies and gentlemen, we've got to take a short break, but when we return, the Lemon Dogs will try to lock down a spot in Sunday's finals and join Fnatic and, I might add, Najin Sword in the World Championships. The LCS Regional Playoffs live from Gamescom. We'll be right back.